Hello out there. If you're a soul searcher like I am, you're my family, my friends, comrades, and my soul tribe. Welcome to Hug, Love, Heal Channel. And I'm your host, Sunjin. I am here before you with the guidance of the universe and my guardian angels and spirit guides, and also special support from my two sons and husband who is helping me the technical aspect of this podcast. In this channel, we will be discussing love. Love from the perspective of a survivor of an infant and child abuse. And this particular series is one of the seven, precisely second episode of the seventh series. And it is about how I manifested my very first miracle. And the story kind of continues from my first episode. So check that out if you are after this, if you are curious about it. Anyway, so I am hoping that I will be able to tell you as sort of a fun story, storytelling. So let's start. Back in the year of 1989, sometime in January, came bunches of Western members of the church that my father unfortunately was working as a minister. And he had a small, very small homegrown church. Nonetheless, these other foreign members were serving for whatever that meant, serving their time, servicing in Korea. And this lady, V, she was one of the Western member that ended up staying with us at my parents' home. And at some point during her stay, I was able to communicate with her. So she and I were somehow started to strike conversations, one word at a time, looking through a dictionary. Nowadays, everything is on Google and you can just pick up a word and you can instantly know. But back then, it was all in the dictionary and we'll have to search for the words. And so from English to Korean and me Korean to English, and we were dialoguing, literally, really one word at a time. And she, I felt as though when this happened, that I was getting an attention that I had not ever gotten from anyone before. And probably she was more or less intrigued of how the family or the generations, the second generations of the church members, that would be children, of course, then, how we were living, I suppose. She was just curious about the dynamics of the family at the time, perhaps. So she and I started to communicate, and really was for the first time I felt like somebody was understanding me from more than what the dictionary could translate. And I felt like blessings. Somebody finally was noticing me. And that felt really tremendous in so many ways. And if I were to put into words, I suppose that that was love in itself, or let's say I was so hungry for love and any attention that there is this person looking at me and was interested in getting to know me. And so, anyhow, we were started to develop a relationship, and we became quite close. I was following her around like crazy, and in her, if I were to think it, I I should ask her. Not that I think about it, but I imagine it might have been a sympathetic point of view, which sympathy is also another form of love, which is called compassion. And I think she was more coming from that aspect as she was much older. Any case, so then she promised me 3 months later. Her time was up. She was going back to England, and her visa was also done. So she was ready to go back to England and join in with her husband. But she made a promise that she will come back and take me with her then in the future. So then, of course, that was not said to anyone. It was promised between she and I really believed in that promise. And I guess because of that series of my experience after the spirit encounter, as I had described in my first episode, I started to really think about God at the time. And I really did think, going back and forth on and off, how if there was really God, how could my life be so miserable? To be born to parents such as they were, and the types of abuses that I've gotten, it's just a lot of pain here. A lot of pain here. But anyway, so I really held on tightly of her words that she will come back and take me with her to England. But then, of course, I started to cling on to prayers to God that she will be able to come back in such a desperation. Then a couple of months later, I got a letter from her saying that unless she got pregnant, her husband will not agree for her to come back to Korea because she was already much older, and it was critical of a woman's age not to go any longer. So it was very important task as a couple for her and her husband. And so as I'm calling her here V, I was as if the whole world collapsed on me. And upon receiving that letter, because that sounded almost like she will not be coming. Any case, no matter, I had my heart set on, and I started to really sincerely pray with an intensity. My waking moments are all about just prayers and how I was so desperately, ever so grateful, or better yet to say, if she was able to come back, then I will live my life not ever being unsure of God's existence, that I will be always living my life with God in the center. Anyway, with that prayer, just even though I had nothing to really hope for, that is why I guess it's a miracle. I got another letter a few months later saying that she is now pregnant and will be able to come back to Korea, that is. And the timing would be somewhere in September that year. And so here I was, deliriously happy. But you don't know until it happens, right? So, but what I started to do was, while I was still continuing to pray, and my beliefs of God became more intensified, like, oh my God, there must be truly God somewhere out there. And also started to study English. And by then, I started to tell people that I am going to England. That's what I'm going to do. I am going to England, and I started to study English as much as what one could do at the time, at least getting my words. Any case, and she came back finally, and there was sense of an overjoy, of course, and truly in my heart at the time of this young woman or young girl, where there was no sense of happiness of any kind, and the world is against me, and yet I saw one tiny silver lining, is that called? Light shining at my situation. So as impossible as it was of her coming, because pregnancy is not something that one could just naturally do. But how the stars are aligned at the time is this. Up until that year, past summer at some point, because when she came and I told my parents what I wished, that I wanted to go to England with her. But I remember clearly my father saying that that is not possible. And of course, my world started to crumble down again. So then, of course, I prayed even more intensely. And the reasoning was because of the tension of North Korea and South Korea. The government was not issuing passports to regular citizens unless was for some sort of business or government related work stuff. So traveling was really limited because of the North Korea and mess. Anyway, then one night my father comes home and said, "Yay, you could go to England if you want. Now the law has been changed, the policy has changed. They are now allowing passport to be issued to general public. And what is more, the passport, so I was able to get a passport and never expected that my parents would agree for me to leave home because they were very, very strict with the rules. At the same time, they were going to buy me a ticket, airplane ticket. Of course, at the time, the currency and economy of all those things, the airplane tickets were very much expensive still at the time. And for them to be able to say, yeah, you can go, and supporting me with getting the passport and that I didn't need a visa and getting an airplane ticket, of all those things, it just seemed like was impossible task really to be, unless it was really a form of a miracle. And then let's see, what else did it happen at that time? The year of 1989, the world was still having the Cold War. My generations and lower wouldn't know about this, but the Soviet Union at the time, now is Russia, and the United States were having a Cold War, and East Germany and West Germany were still separate at the time. So the idea of a traveling or any of the free travel as we know of today just wasn't possible. Anyways, so here are the miracles that I was able to manifest, and I finally left Korea. And now that I sit this particular year of 2023, I see my stars are lining up yet one more time, like it did back then, 1989, with these courses of several miracles that happened so that I was able to leave Korea, and that I didn't need to become a prostitute or marry off in some really young age without knowing. That would have been another set of, I suppose, one misery, leaving one misery, getting into another one kind of situation. So, anyway, my stars are lining up again. And this time, universe is guiding me to be able to share my journey, my healing journey, where I was able to, felt like the world was caving in to me, to picking me out from that situation, planting me out where I wanted to be. And the rest of the story is, or my life is how the story continued. Because then from England, I ended up coming to the United States. And at the time, then, I left V and England, came to the States, and be on my own. Since I was 22, two, three. Anyway, it's been a very interesting journey for sure. And the only way that I could have gone on was because I kept that faith. I don't go to church. I don't believe in religion, but I believe in spirituality. That is why I use the word God, interchangeably, universe, of course. And while I'm talking about this in very calm manner, and I really hope that I didn't leave any details out, but the epic 21 hour, 21 hour travel time from going from Seoul to Heathrow Airport at the time in London. Now it's only like 9 hours, but going around the Anchorage in Alaska and around the whole top, the Arctic area, and getting into London took really that long, 21 hours. And it was definitely more excitement than was nerve-wracking. And what was ahead of me, of course, I had no idea how my life would unfold in ways, but one thing for sure, if I did not have that miracle happen for me, or if I did not manifest that miracle, I cannot be sure if I am alive today. Anyway, so with that note, today's podcast is not really that long, or is it? Because I didn't still answer the questions of my two children sent out for me. I will try to answer as quickly as I can here. What makes you want to go back to Korea now? My family here knows that I am very homesick for Korea, as I hated so much and I could not relate to their mindset during the younger years. I guess this is perhaps a returning back home. I really do miss sense of who I did not become in a way. I don't know Korea at all. I had visited a few times before. I miss their food. I miss their culture to some degree. I've not traveled at all there, so I miss what I've not seen. But also because I dealt with the relationships with my parents. I've gone through the acceptance, forgiveness, and coming around to a place of love. Initially, I felt like the wound was so deep, I could not see myself ever coming to a place where I could say, I love you, or say, I'm walking and I see a rock and I can feel that rock had some sense of tenderness. I call that love. If I can love a rock, a tree, flower, I don't know, some stupid things down in the street, why cannot I say I love, or I love with the compassion toward my parents? It's because the ache, the wound was so, so deep. I had to keep mending so many times until I finally realized I set onto this world through my parents with a reason, and I've come through to it. Now I understand the path that I was on. I am love. My spirit is love. And in order for me to really understand that love so deep, I had to come to a place where there was no, completely zero sense of love. Any case, so yeah, now I am gone through all these journeys, my spiritual journeys, where I feel actually the sense of connection with my parents. I never thought that I would be in this particular phase of my life, but I came through somehow. So I really I miss being with my family, not the family I created, but the family that I came from, my siblings, my parents. I would like to go eat some delicious food with them, sleep in the same room together with them, and do some nice things before I don't have any more chance, as now my parents are old too, as my gray hair shows. That means they're getting up there, and somehow I need to pay my visit and do all the things that I said that I want to do just now. So we'll see how well it takes me. What would be the best description of the click between you and V? So as I had said earlier, from my point of view, where I stood was that I was getting the attention that I have not ever gotten. Somebody was listening to me. And she has this such a quiet and easy demeanor where everything is okay and I am okay kind of feeling. So I suppose I attach to her more or less like a mother. She is like my mother. In fact, when I do speak with her, I will often call her my mom. That way, even though there's slight, that doesn't feel quite right. But I do call her. And then her ex-husband now, I call him daddy or father, even though I didn't get to spend much time with him back then, but still now we are like friends. And I feel like to their children that I am a big sister. So that's kind of interesting. And from V's perspective, I think she was feeling very sorry for me. That I was in such a miserable state that I was in. And I think she was feeling very sympathetic. And a woman with love so full, I think she just had so much to give. And I just attached it, I latched onto her. So I think that's probably what I would describe. And of course, that sense of me looking for mother figure. And she was ready to take me on. And I think that's what really struck a bond. So now, over 30 years later, we are still pretty close. I'm close with her and her ex-husband, and I'd love to build deeper relationships with her children. But since we are not really close geographically, it's a little hard. But I visited last year, and was able to finally meet my little sister figure. Hello. So anyway, what I want to close this with today is same thing that we do every day or all series here, is that we are getting in touch with our heart center. If you put that circular place of your palm right to here where heart energy center is, you can feel the movement of energy. If you can feel right away the spiral, clockwise spiral, that's great. If you don't feel it just yet, then close your eyes and be quiet a little bit. And in there, no matter who you are and where you are, where you come from, it's there. There's energy, heart energy, love, seed of love. lives here in the heart energy center. So we meet this energy center through our hands, and this very energy seed is yours to take. So you take on this energy and you give it to yourself. I love me. I love me. And I will heal. So that's it for today. I hope you can be the first one to give me a comment of my manifestation after you hear. If you have any similar experience, also please share. I would love to hear about it. And I will see you in the next episode.